Okay, let's just briefly go over some major points in Emily Dickinson's poetry. She never gave her poems titles. We usually refer to the poem by the first line of that poem. She used dashes so that we, the readers, would be able to stop and contemplate what is about to come or what has just been said. She also capitalized many of the words that she used in her poems in order for us to form an image of the poetic subject. She didn't use perfect rhyme, but her rhyme is called slant because it's not perfect. One example was pearl, alcohol. Her meter, I didn't mention this, was iambic, but her meter was not regular at all. You can see that in this example that where I bolded the iambic feet for you to see, but in some lines you have 3 feet, in other lines you have 4 feet, so the meter is not that regular. So let's move on with her publication story. After 1862, because she was so concerned about the changes that Bowles made to her 2 poems that were published, she addressed the literary critic Higginson, who became one of her very close friends. The two, however, did not meet for many years. They just corresponded through letters. But they finally met in 1870. All the time, Higginson advised Emily Dickinson not to publish her poems because he himself could not understand the turmoil inside her mind that was producing such powerful, romantic, and also morbid imagery that he saw in her poems. When they met in 1870, Higginson said this to his wife. I was never with anyone who drained my nerve power so much. Without touching her, she drew from me. I'm glad not to live near her. So Emily was quite a character. He could not stand being near her, and in fact, they only met once more after this. However, they continued corresponding and became very close friends, if only through their letters. So, if we speak about the image of a lover who clearly appears in many of her poems, we may only conjecture about the true identity of this lover. Higginson was only a friend, so we will not consider Higginson at all. Then there was this guy, Benjamin Newton, who worked for her father, but he was too poor to marry her. Then, one important figure in her life was the Reverend Wadsworth, who was 16 years her senior, and he allegedly was the master from her letters. Namely, Emily Dickinson wrote many letters that are addressed to a figure called the master, whereas she herself calls herself Daisy. And even though Wadsworth was already married and he was so much older than her, she described the master, or Wadsworth, as the perfect lover. When he died in 1882, she had a nervous breakdown, and shortly after she died from nephritis, which is a kidney disease. She describes him in her letters when he died as her dearest earthly friend, shepherd from little girlhood, always noble, fathomless, and gentle. So he was probably one of the male figures who affected her the most and who appears as the master in these letters. During these first decades of her life, Emily Dickinson was very prolific. However, during the last 2 decades of her life, she became so busy, especially after her father died and her mother had a disease because of which she remained an invalid. She had a stroke, I think. And Emily Dickinson had to do everything around the house. She remained unmarried, as well as her sister Lavinia, and she was having chronic eye trouble. So being this busy meant that she was not able to produce so many poems as before. And she used to write less than 50 poems a year, which is still an accomplishment. So this is approximately 1 poem per week, which is great. So, in the last decades of her life, there is one more male figure who appears, and again, this is not a happy story. His name is Judge Otis Lord, who was her father's friend, and he did consider marrying her, but she presumably rejected him because she thought she was too old to change her ways and to live with a man. This is what she wrote to him when he proposed at one point. Let me zoom it in. Don't you know you're happiest while I withhold and not confer? Don't you know that no is the wildest word we consign to language? I think this is really important because the word no and the word nothing are so prominent in Emily's letters and in Emily's poetry. She said that the word no had great power. For example, her famous sentence is saying nothing sometimes says the most. I really enjoy that sentence. So after her death, it was only then that Emily Dickinson became popular. And Emily is popular today because of the posthumous publication saga that went on. As I mentioned, the ebony box where she kept her poetry was inherited by her sister Lavinia, and she gave the poems to Higginson and one professor who edited the poems. Again, they changed the capitalization, they changed the punctuation, they changed the rhymes. So it was not actually original what they published. In the years to follow, there were many editions published with Emily's poetry. You can see them briefly in this slide. One notable edition was that of Emily Dickinson's niece, Martha Dickinson, who was the daughter of Susan Gilbert and Emily's brother, William Austin. So let's hear what Martha has to say about her aunt. She herself was of the part of life that is always youth, always magical. She wrote of it as she grew to know it, step by step, discovery by discovery, truth by truth, until time merely became eternity. She was preeminently the discoverer, eagerly hunting the meaning of it all, this strange world in which she wonderingly found herself. So this is a very nice way to describe Emily Dickinson, who wanted to discover the secret behind eternity, and you will see this in many of her poems. Just let me go briefly back and stress this fact. The edition that we today find to be complete is the Johnson text, published by Thomas Johnson in 1955, which contains 1775 poems by Emily Dickinson, and he arranged them chronologically in a way that he thought she might have written these poems. There was another edition after this, but you will see that in my textbook I refer to this particular edition when I cite her poems. Yeah, this is the part about the word nothing, which apart from the word no is also very powerful. She says nothing is the force that renovates the world, and we should think about it when we keep silent. That our silence is also very meaningful. Uh, to celebrate her obsession with the word nothing, in 2013, one fabulous edition of her poetry was published. It's called The Gorgeous Nothings. It contains the scraps of paper and pieces of envelopes on which she would scribble down her thoughts, which would later become her poems. Let me show you what that looks like. So here it is. You can see the scrap of an envelope on the left, and on the right you can see the transcription of the poem, as well as some explanation to include with the poem. This is just one excerpt, so you can see the scrap of paper, and this is what it says on this piece of paper. In this short life that only lasts an hour, how much how little is within our power. You can see that she actually included the dashes on these scraps of paper, and that life is capitalized because it's the basic image described in this very short poem. And in my last video, I'm going to read some poetry with you and try to explain really briefly what the poems are about, but you're going to read them closely in your tutorials.